Are you guys ready? You ready for a little rant? Because I'm getting ready to rant. Nintendo fans are so stupid. Hello there, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Botox Media. Today, we are talking about, well, not only the Splatoon 3 OLED model announcement, but just this whole Switch Pro, whatever you even want to call it, going on, because it is so funny, but also so sad to see so much of the Nintendo community has tricked themselves into thinking that there is anything coming. Not only do these people seem to think that whatever's coming is coming this year, a lot of them, and I'm saying a lot of them based on my own evidence of seeing, I frequent Reset Era, I frequent fan boards, I frequent Twitter. So many of these people, not only do they think it's a new Switch coming out, they think it's the Switch 2 with exclusive games. Where in the hell are you getting your what, dude? What? That makes no sense. It literally makes no sense. And I just want to rant about it today because it's just really funny seeing these two sides of the Nintendo community. And honestly, vocal minority and all that, I'm assuming the majority of Switch owners or people that engage in Nintendo games don't either A, don't care, especially in Japan, and B, have no say in the matter. They don't really know one or the other. They're not saying, oh yeah, Switch Pro definitely happening this year. It is the vocal minority, I'm sure, on the dedicated gaming boards saying like, oh yeah, Switch Pro, that makes sense this year, when it absolutely doesn't. There's nothing suggesting a Switch Pro this year. What's the best excuse people have, or best reasoning or hints towards an upgraded Switch coming out? Was it the Nvidia thing from March? Guys, that means nothing. That means literally nothing. You want to know what Nintendo always does? They're always working on the next thing. Having some NVIDIA source code stuff leaked with some graphics API stuff and other things that I don't really understand, having DLSS and all that, having that happen doesn't mean a Switch Pro or a Switch 2 is anywhere near coming out. NVIDIA works with Nintendo on their console. Yes, they're always working on the next console. It's not that hard, guys. It's not that complex. Yes, I'm sure Nintendo is working on a 4K system with DLSS that'll come out in 3 years from now. Maybe longer. Maybe sooner, but most likely longer. Just because you see some evidence of something doesn't mean it's imminent. We see leaks for stuff years in advance. I mean, we had no concrete information on the PS5 until I believe that got revealed in June of 2020, right? Or I guess the controller was like March, but we didn't know anything until late 2019. People like to act like we knew shit, but we didn't know shit. It's the same thing with this, man. We don't know anything. We have insiders like Nate Drake saying, yeah, third-party devs have had dev kits since 2020. No, they haven't. There's no chance they have. If a third-party developer, and okay, let's just play fantasy world here and say the Switch Pro is coming out holiday 2022 alongside Metroid Prime Remake or Remaster, whatever it is, if that even is real, who knows. Let's just say that's the case. And that's third parties got development kits back in 2020, late 2020. You're telling me it hasn't leaked yet? Because the only third parties that would get it that early are Ubisoft, Activision, EA, Bandai Namco. The Japanese companies don't really have to worry about leaks, but Ubisoft, Activision, this stuff would be wide open. As soon as NX dev kits were really out in the wild and really in the hands of third-party devs, it leaked. I think it was a Chinese manufacturing company that initially, back in like the summer of 2016, just leaked everything. We literally had pictures of the dev kit. And it just was a Switch dock with an Ethernet port, with the extra ports that, devs need. If there were dev kits out in the wild, out in like major third-party hands right now, we would know what this thing is. We would know everything about it. If they've been out there for that long, I should say. I think it's possible that they're getting them right now. I think that's certainly plausible. And then you have the whole thing with, Nintendo's increasing their raw material usage. I mentioned that on Nintendo Wrap last week just because so many people were talking about it. That means nothing. I'm pretty sure someone said that, like, they just did it for, I don't know. It wasn't necessarily because they were actually increasing the raw materials usage, just because they were just doing some other stuff. There is nothing suggesting a Switch 2 or a Switch Pro. I've seen a lot of people also saying that it's they haven't revealed their second half 2022 lineup yet because they're waiting to announce the next Switch. I don't know if you guys have looked at the Switch's lineup this year, but it's really good. There's a lot of games coming out. Maybe not all of them are Nintendo EPD developed, but just think, over the next 6 months, we know, unless, obviously things change, Bayonetta's probably going to get delayed, we have Advance Wars, Splatoon 3, Live Alive, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Mario Plus Rabbids, Bayonetta 3, I think I already said Advance Wars. We have enough games, and then you have exclusive from third parties like Harvestella and Dragon Quest Treasures. There are plenty of games coming out. There is nothing suggesting that they are focusing development on their next console. There's literally nothing suggesting it. There are so many games coming out this year that are exclusive to the Nintendo Switch. Oh, Pokemon. I didn't mention Pokemon, which that's kind of its own beast. Pokemon does what it wants. If you're trying to look at development patterns as to why we're getting a new Switch anytime soon, just stop right now, because right now the Switch's exclusive lineup is better right now than it was in 2018 and 2019. Maybe not 2019. I don't know if I go that far. Better than 2020, most certainly. Maybe, and also 2021, I would say. Obviously all that's subjective. If you like your WarioWare, no shame to you. But I've seen so many people saying, oh, well, there's not many games currently announced. We don't know anything about 2023. That means that a new console is coming, and they don't want to show those games yet because they want to show the new console first before showing those games. First of all, like I said, we already know probably the full lineup of this holidays games, maybe one casual game like a Ring Fit Adventure type of release. And then next year, we already know more than people are leading on to. We know about Breath of the Wild 2. We know a Fire Emblem game is almost assuredly coming out. We know Metroid Prime 4 is coming out. Bayonetta 3 will probably be next year, realistically. We know about stuff coming out in the future. We don't have an empty slate like we did even back in 2020. We know way more than people are saying. And Nintendo is very much a company. I mean, people always kind of give them crap for this because I think it was back when Reggie was president. They would always say yeah, we like announcing games close to when they release, and then they would immediately do the opposite of that with Metroid Prime and Zelda, especially in those early Switch years. That is very true now, though. They don't announce games early. They announce games 3 months in advance, 4 months in advance. I think, that Fire Emblem game that we're all talking about, that will probably be announced either in the September Direct or the January Direct and release in February or March. That game's probably going to be announced and released within 3 months. We had the same thing happen with Fire Emblem Warriors. It was announced in February, comes out in June, or already came out in June. Same thing, that same Direct, we saw Live Alive, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Both of those games are coming out within 5 months of that Direct, especially Xenoblade 3. That is a huge Nintendo, Monolith Soft, Nintendo-owned, developed game that is just coming out within less than half of a year from release. You look at that versus even, I was thinking about this, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition was announced in September of 2019, and then it came out in May 2022. There was more lead-up time for that than Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Nintendo operates very differently than people seem to think. They don't announce games early. They announce games 3 months before release. Hell, a lot of the time they announce games after they're finished development. I wouldn't be surprised if Xenoblade 3's been done. It was supposed to come out in September, then it got pushed up to July. That game's probably been done. Then you have examples like Splatoon 3, which, yes, was obviously announced a little too early, I think. But for the most part, especially when it comes to their B-tier franchises, they announce their games and then they release them within 6 months, typically speaking. So yeah, I just wanted to ramble about the Switch Pro stuff. Here's my take. I'm not saying we're not going to get an upgraded Switch. I'm saying it's not happening this year or early next. I think maybe holiday 2023 you could see it, and here's the thing, it's not going to be what people expect. It's not going to be. You look at the success of the Switch, and it makes no sense to replace the Switch. The Switch is going to become the best-selling video game console of all time. It is going to pass the PS2. I swear on it. It is going to do that well, because they're not going to replace it. Why would you replace it? They still continue to see year-over-year growth. There's literally no reason to do anything like making a new model. Or a successor, I should say. So here's what I think. I think it is possible that we get a Switch Pro, if you want to call it that, in late 2023. It'll have the OLED screen again. It'll have, improved frame rates for probably mostly third-party games, to be honest, and that's about it. It's not going to be a 4K powerhouse like with DLSS that people are going on about. It's not going to be that. If they were going to do that, at that point, it's just the Switch 2, and the Switch 2 isn't coming out until 2025 at the earliest. We have DLC announced for Nintendo first-party games through the end of 2023 into early 2024 with Mario + Rabbids Sparks of Hope. There is no chance that we are getting a new console before all of that is done. There is zero chance, especially before the Mario Kart DLC is done. That makes no sense. But here's my thing. I do think it's possible that next year, late next year, we get something else. A lot of people have been saying Switch Lite OLED. I think that is a very Nintendo thing to do, but then you have to factor in, we haven't heard anything about any panel companies making OLED panels of that size, so that's kind of a wrench in that thing, so maybe not that. What I think is more likely, and I didn't really think of this until this morning, honestly, while I was taking a shower, getting ready to make this video. Here's what I think might be going on right now. If there was a Switch Pro coming out this year, they wouldn't have released the OLED. The OLED would make no sense. If they were going to make a Switch Pro that's more powerful and has that OLED display, that would make literally no sense. It just wouldn't. Why would you do that? Yeah, they made some money, but like when you do R&D and all that, like it probably wouldn't have been worth it. What I think is more likely, now that I'm thinking about it, is, and this isn't like a new idea people have had. I've said this before. Many people have said this before, but thinking about it with the OLED, it just makes way more logical sense than I really ever gave it credit for. The Switch OLED is the portable console. That is for the people that play their Switch on the go. What is probably most likely going to happen is a docked-only Switch that is more powerful, but it's not going to have that screen. It's not going to have, well, really the screen is the main thing. It's not going to have that screen, so they're going to be able to keep the cost down. But it's not going to be as powerful as people are saying. It's not going to have exclusives. Maybe one, maybe two, but not like people are saying. People are saying, oh, it's going to have Hogwarts Legacy exclusive to the Switch Pro. No. Bad Nintendo fan. They are not doing that. They're not going to. I would love to be wrong. Maybe I'll look back on this video in a few weeks. And here's the funniest thing. I didn't even talk about the Splatoon OLED. I woke up this morning and I saw that, and I was like, okay, what are people saying on Femi boards, on Reset? Are they saying, oh, we lost this one, guys? They're like, no, we're going to get an announcement next week. I know it's just a special edition Switch OLED. There is zero chance that they reveal a successor or even an upgraded version a week after releasing or announcing a Splatoon 3 special edition with a new Pro Controller, with a new carrying case. There is zero chance. There is literally none. I saw everybody trying to downplay it, saying, oh, this thing had no fanfare. What do you mean it had no fanfare? They made a full trailer for this thing. That's more than they do for like any other special edition. This is the Switch console into the holiday season. This is obviously it. We're not getting another one this year. So to see people still acting like there's a chance it'll get announced in July, let alone like August, September, there are people that still think it's going to be announced in July, is just, it's mind-numbing. I cannot believe people are this focused on something that clearly isn't happening. It isn't. And like I said, I would love to be wrong. I'm a consumer. I like giving Nintendo my money. As you can see here, I have a Bowser hat. I bought a Bowser hat. I would love to buy a more powerful Switch that can run Hyrule Warriors at 60 FPS. I just don't think now's the time. I don't think early next year is the time. That's like people's backup is, oh, it's going to launch with Breath of the Wild 2. I don't think that's going to happen. The earliest we get something is late next year, and it's not going to be as what people are thinking. It's not going to be basically a successor. It's not. There's like zero chance. So with that said, I do want to say, I actually bought a Switch OLED like 2 weeks ago, which, thinking about it now, people are going to be like, oh, you just don't want one announced because you just bought a Switch OLED. No, I don't really care. I'm more than willing to spend money again. That Splatoon OLED do be looking pretty good, though. I have to say, that thing looks really sleek. Those Joy-Con with the squid patterns on the back, man, that is a good-looking Switch OLED. And then the Pro Controller and all that. So, yeah, it's a pretty handsome package. Comes out, I think, on August 26th. There's your news for this video. But yeah, I just wanted to rant and ramble about the Switch Pro stuff because it has gotten so mind-numbing. The insiders keep saying the same information over and over and over, and it's just there's clearly something there, but it's not what people think. That's my stance on it. I would love to hear why you think I'm wrong. Obviously, I don't know as much about the technical side, but even just looking at Nintendo as a company, they're not a predictable company. People are like, oh, they're doing the Switch Pro because they did a new 3DS, a more powerful 3DS. Guys, the new 3DS plays any SNES games. People are saying, oh, the Switch Pro is going to be 4K with DLSS. No, it isn't. It isn't. It isn't. It isn't. I'm telling you, it's not. Like I said, I would love to be wrong. I would love to wake up next week and see a Switch Pro releasing the same day as the Splatoon OLED. Sure, that'd be awesome, but I just don't see it. So that is my rant for today. Let me know what y'all think down in the comments below. Tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me why I'm right, more importantly. And, of course, you can follow me on Twitter, at BoTalksMedia, TikTok, Instagram. Join my Discord. A link to that is down below. And until next time, folks, peace.